Hey there, friends, and welcome back to Strange Rebel Gaming. I'm Brianna White, and today we're back with more What Remains of Edith Finch. Now, if you missed the first part, you definitely want to check that one out. I will link to it in the description, and I'll put a little card here for the playlist because this is a very, very impactful, emotional narrative game, and you definitely want to know what they've been setting up so that you can enjoy the payoff in this episode today. Such a good game. It's like, I just finished it and like all of the stories are roiling around in my head, so it's really good. I hope you're gonna love it. Take a second to like the video and we'll get into it. Enjoy.
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvin.
Okay, we tend to think differently about Calvin, but you can definitely think that Calvin was killed by the monster for sure. That makes sense if you're Walter. What the? Trash pit? I see Alvino's in there. We're gonna go with trash pit. Yeah, because that's brown rice bag. Okay, so he does eat more than peaches. That's good.
Maybe this is all a mistake.
I don't...
But I need to stop living the same day. Even if it kills me.
Okay, so we just broke our way out of this bunker. Okay, so the shaking that Walter was experiencing was a train. That's why he felt the shaking every day until he didn't, because the train doesn't go by anymore.
I'm going to appreciate all of it.
This is not going to end well. This is not going to end well.
I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month.
I really don't want to keep walking, but it's doing it again where the game is making you keep walking.
One new day.
God.
I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
That one didn't catch me by surprise, but the cruel irony of it that the story sets up when Walter is saying the most horrible thing he could possibly say when you know something bad is going to happen. He says, I've been down here for 30 years and I'm ready to start living my life, even if it kills me. You know what? I'd be happy with a year. You know what? I'd be happy with a week. You know what? I'd be happy with one day. To get so close. Brutal game. Brutal story setup. That's a curse. That's a family curse. They're really setting up some family curse nonsense here.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
I guess we're going into Bunkerland.
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
This is really interesting, you see. Because we've experienced the house through time a few times now. And the primary one being the last one, Barbara, you kind of went into this like comic book reimagining of the home, which we know doesn't necessarily translate directly to, you know, truth. It's not exactly equal, but you see the house in a different way because it was decorated differently, lived in differently. There were certain things that were different. Yet, the bunker that we just experienced many years ago looks exactly the same. You have exactly the same frames for the model parts lying here. You have everything exactly the way it was during the flashback because no one has been down here and touched anything since the day Walter broke out. The day the flashback we saw.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Why is there power under here?
Trying to bury something that's still alive.
Whoa. That's a statement. I don't want to make the same mistakes my mother made, trying to bury something that's still alive. Is she talking about Walter? Sure. Walter was living in the house when Edith was alive, and Edith never knew. There's a sense of betrayal there. Like, wow, my mom never told me? Even if she was trying to protect me, that's not enough. But she's also talking about the past. The past is all those secrets that her mom has been hiding about all of this family history. That the mom is saying, I don't want to repeat this. I don't want to repeat this. I want to end this curse. We're going to pretend it doesn't exist. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to seal up the doors. It never happened. But the past has a way of following you because the past is something that is alive. Every time you rethink about something, every time you remember something, it lives again through you. You relive it when you remember it. So to bury it, it's always gonna keep coming back up because it is still alive. Interesting.
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
And so there's Walter's shrine. He loved to play with toy trains. And he was killed by a train. Interesting that this track now leads to nowhere as the cliff has eroded. So I guess quite some time has passed. Few big storms, I surmise. Oh, that's the person. That's the statue. Okay. That's the statue of Otis sinking with his boat, houseboat. That's the memorial shrine to Otis. I wonder if that's where we're going next. I honestly thought that was a person. Is that not his name? Odin, sorry. Otis seems to fit in better. Okay, there's the path.
I don't know if I should even be writing this.
There's a chair in the tree. Ooh, pretty moon.
Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me.
So now we're getting, so far it's been a lot of, Edith kind of going through the house and experiencing her family's story. Now we're getting a little sense of Edith's story. a little sense of her experience having lived through this family of experiences. She's saying, you know, maybe this should all die with me. Maybe I am the last member of my family for a reason. That's like a very heavy thing to feel. That's like a very deep loneliness. Your family. I hate the creepy faces everywhere.
And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now.
So you have to wonder who she's writing to, of course.
I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
You could wonder if maybe she's writing to Milton, who apparently went missing, but we never were really sure if anything ever happened. I don't know, she's 17. It's maybe, I guess, unlikely that she's writing to her own, you know, future child, but I don't know. We'll, I suppose, find out. Because she's clearly writing from a sense of writing to someone based on those few lines.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
I think to the statue.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Yeah. That's a valid point. What was that? How do I get there? I don't know if I can get there. Yeah, I don't know if I can get there. At least maybe it wraps around. Let's find out.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Oh, there's Daisy and Lucy and Charlie and Tucker and Coco and Zoe, but most importantly, Zerpy, Lurpy, Furpy, Chirpy, Burpy, Derpy, and Derpy Jr. Good old Derpy Jr. Christopher, the fish, Shadow and Shotzi, Oliver the rabbit, Bob. Wait, wasn't there a snake named Bob? Why is that a picture of a dog? Bob was the snake. Bailey and unknown. Oh yeah, what was the lizard's name? I remember Bob the snake. Was the lizard one of the Erpies? I don't remember.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
You're like, what is that? What is this rock that is on top of Walter's? That's the train tunnel. And that's Walter walking through it. What should have been the beginning of his life. Full body chills.
I'm sure Odin's Monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away.
Always
She
looking
could
up,
see
it
it
seems.
poking out of the water at low tide.
That's the house? That's how close they got? When the house sunk? That's pretty brutal. It's interesting to say that
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand.
it's interesting that she said that Edie, you know, insisted on this monument in this manner. Because this is what you typically expect from a memorial monument, right? It's always like the fallen, like standing tall, looking strong, regal or epic in some kind of pose. But you never see a memorial like this. That is a snapshot of the emotion that onlookers feel, that families feel when they lose someone they love. This snapshot of this emotion that Edie, from what we know of her, would have insisted upon, that this is the important part of the monument. Because this is our story too. You gotta memorialize the fallen and the people who survived them. And you gotta honor their feelings too. Very interesting.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
Can you imagine the ghost of your former home that you loved, that represented a new start for you, always on the horizon? The horizon that represents moving forward. So you look out to gain some perspective out over the water and you see the ghost of the shell of your old home, your past, your curse haunting you, hovering.
But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from.
Certainly.
Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
So here we have the first inklings of what has happened to the rest of the family tree, who also seem to have died extremely young. Gregory being only a year old. And if we remember correctly, Gregory was the name on the bathroom, the pink bathroom. Which we didn't understand at the time. I still don't quite understand why they chose that door. Maybe because Gregory would have only being a year old, maybe would have shared a room. Oh. was only a month old. No. It was a year. Was it January to December? Was okay, almost 2 years old. Okay, whew. All right. Almost 2 years old. We still don't really get the bathroom reference. Maybe would have shared a room with Sam and Kay. Gus, we have not seen, so unclear. But this would have been Edith's mom, Dawn's siblings, Gus and Gregory, and Sam, her dad. We're probably going to get a sense of what the pinwheel means, I'm guessing, in the future. So there's Milton. We didn't have a die date because they are putting it here in remembrance for him with a little torch, you know. Keep a lookout, the vigil, universal symbol for vigil. Sanjay would have been Edith's dad, I'm guessing.
She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
And here's Lewis, the oldest. A little bench for sitting, a little sitting bench. Okay, so here's the area
There's so
I
many
saw
things
earlier.
I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
That's such a... I'm sure we'll get kind of a good sense of why the mom made that choice later, but right now my immediate feeling is like that's really selfish. Maybe the mom was just mistaken, and on whatever mom's deathbed, we don't know what happened to her yet. On mom's deathbed, maybe mom said, "Oh, I was wrong. Edith needs to know our story." But like, to keep it from her all her life and then to drop all of this on a 17-year-old alone to figure it out for herself? No. Incredibly selfish.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
So we know who she's writing to all of a sudden. Edith, at 17, is pregnant and climbing a tree branch. I wonder, like, what was the thought process behind the developers having her crossing a tree branch this wide and then at that moment dropping on everyone that she's 22 weeks pregnant? Birdhouses made out of milk jugs. Okay. Are we supposed to, like, is there a ladder here? There is a ladder. Okay, here we go.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Oh, this is quite intense. So here's Sam's memorial shrine.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Yeah, this has big time grandpa vibes. Big time. So, this open? It does not open. But we're gonna go with War Hero.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
So different coping mechanisms. Everybody has them. This is quite a fierce little cat pose. I have to assume it's a taxidermied situation. All right. I know that it's a thing that some people taxidermy their pets. I find it uncomfortable. I find the idea of that uncomfortable. I just finished saying that everybody copes with death differently, but I personally would not make that choice. That's just me, though. Picking your traps. Picking your target is what that says. Are we going to close the door behind us? Because that would really bother me. You can't just leave doors open. Okay. Okay, so here we have Sam's room, which I assume was shared with Kay, which I assume would have been shared with Gregory. Here's a box of Kay stuff. We have a perfume bottle. Maybe a keychain, a seashell. It's too dark. I can't really tell what all this stuff is. Some books, a picture, jewelry, tree, airline ticket. Clear skies and clean living awaits you. Study fun facts about Baltimore while you fly. Is Baltimore a vacation destination? I do have the question though, why one of the bed sides looks lived in, there's a box of Kay's stuff, and an airline ticket out of here for Kay alone. I'm guessing we're gonna find out. All right, Sam, let's see the shrine. I'm nervous. Last one was a heavy hitter. Ooh, we're gonna see pictures. Sam's pictures. Oh boy.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged. Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it?
This is fun. We can take pictures of whatever we want.
I'll never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the
Odin
spirit.
Finch National Park.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
Oh boy. What is that?
Definitely
Who is
should not have
that?
drunk all that coffee.
He's peeing. I don't want a picture of that.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Take a picture of this bird.
Aw.
This is giving me Life is Strange vibes for real. I love it. This is so creative.
Nothing quite.
I don't want to
like being
see you
outside.
pee, and I don't want to take a picture of him peeing. Gosh, can I live? Am I just gonna not be able to move on until I take a picture of him peeing? Oh, I can see behind me. Oh, good.
Oop.
Can I stop?
Gas in the
I
tank,
don't
I
want to
guess.
see that. Picture of that. It's literally not gonna give me a choice, is it? Take a picture of anything else, maybe? Shoreline, anything interesting there? Just trying to give this man some privacy while he takes the longest pee that's ever happened in the history. Oh my god. Fine.
Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I definitely won't be moving.
Are you done yet?
Does it sound like I'm done?
Why do I have to be here in this memory? I have to take the picture too? There you go. Here's a little privacy. That's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna fly. How about over here? Just near you. I'm just bad at aiming. I'm literally gonna have to take a picture of this man peeing.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
Why?
I'm just
Why?
saying. I'm not always gonna be here, Don.
I don't understand
You'll
some
need
people.
to remember this stuff if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip.
Red bean soup.
Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don.
I got one.
Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Where is she? Wait, there she is.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Now keep yourself squared up, elbows down, like we practiced, whenever you're ready.
This is not good because I can't get both the deer and her in the frame, you see. But I guess I'll just take a picture of this deer. As it's getting shot? I don't love it. Yeah.
Great shot, Don!
Okay. We went there. This game is just continue. Oh, she's crying.
I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay? Sorry, Don. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
I didn't like that. I have so many feelings. Okay, so that legitimately did take me by surprise. And there's something, again, genius on the part of the devs, because they have managed at almost for every family member, they've experimented with different ways of capturing an element of building tension and releasing tension. And I've literally never thought about a camera taking the act of taking photos as an act of building tension and releasing tension. But it is. So it's an excellent narrative tool. And so their use of that here is absolutely expert, especially because they give you a false release. As they're building up to shooting the deer, you instinctively are like, oh, I don't want them to shoot the deer. I don't want them to shoot the deer. But you know that as soon as you snap that shutter, you're gonna be taking a picture of a deer that's been shot. And so the lens clicking and the rifle shot sound effect going off at the same time gives you a false sense of tension relieved. And so all of that tension had been building. You see the shot deer and you're like, okay, I'm in the clear. But you're not. But you're engaged. And so then you have this really cool mechanic where it's like, oh, it's on a self-timer. I'll just be the dad, walk around the hill, and boom, get knocked off a cliff by a deer that's not quite dead. Excellent, excellent, excellent craft of telling that story within how they've set it up, within the frame of the act of taking photos used as a narrative device. I mean, I was just talking the other day with someone, and I told them that anybody who writes stories needs to play God of War. But now I'm like, anybody who writes stories needs to play this game too. They're both very different because one is long form and these are more vignettes. But oh my goodness, is it well done. Like, so much respect, so much ridiculous amount of respect. Ridiculous amount. Oh my gosh. Wow. There's also the element of the dad saying to Dawn over and over again, this is gonna make you strong. It's all about survival. And for that generation that went to war, yeah, it would be all about survival. But Dawn didn't go to war. And so you have people with life or death type of experiences who have to cope in a specific type of way, teaching life skills to someone who will never go to war, potentially. And so you have that clash of Dawn crying, and your first instinct maybe should be to comfort Dawn and say, I know it's sad, dear, dying is sad. But then you have Sam who says, this is how you need to survive. This is how we see another day. You should be stoked you killed a deer. There's this cognitive dissonance of different life experiences leading to different feelings about an event. And Sam saying, not, I understand your sadness, but Sam instead saying, this is gonna make you strong, honey. I'm so proud of you. That's so accurate. I know we can all relate to it. We all have examples of people being the Dawns in the family and being the Sams in the family. That's a very common generational clash that's really interesting to see played out. And then you understand what Dawn learned from her father and why she tried to pass that on to Edith, as if to say, Sam saying, you have to kill deer because you survive. It gives you nourishment. It gives you sustenance. It's all about surviving physical threats. And Dawn translating that into emotional threats. We're going to hide the stories of our past because they are emotionally threatening. And, you know, in this story, maybe they literally are physically threatening, considering the curse, the familial curse. But just, and the layer of guilt that Dawn must feel personally responsible that the deer she didn't quite fully kill is what killed her father. Ugh. So many layers. So many layers. Too many layers. Is that what I think it is? That's not Dawn on the swing that Calvin died on, right? That would be emotional, right? Too emotional. Certainly we couldn't handle that. Okay, that's the door. Why did she hear something moving in the garage in the beginning of the game? And where are we supposed to go next? Back out the slider? Is that why we left it open? I don't know where else there is to go over here. Too dark, I can't see. I feel like this is not the right way. Oh, there's a little door. Okay, it was just hidden. All these doors are hidden, but certainly hidden from me. Okay. Meals ready to eat. I had one of those.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
I wonder who used to play up here. With Finch control right under a skylight, I'm gonna guess this is a Calvin thing. Oh, but maybe we're about to find out. Oh, it's a Gregory thing. What the heck? What the heck is this about to be? Why is this portrait so creepy? What? What? No one said that that is creepy. Why is his mouth so, like, cavernous? Creepy. Okay, but we have been wondering what the deal is with Gregory this whole time anyway, so. Teamwork makes the dream work. It does, though. Respect. Values worth having. Strength. Okay, so this is Gus. So this is like kind of the
I can't
nursery.
imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet.
Oh. Okay, why don't we start with oh, this is gonna make me so sad. Brianna, you can handle this. You're an adult. And you've been to therapy. So we can handle sad things. Okay. Okay, so this is a divorce contract. which is the feeling that I got based on the bed still being made on one side and the box of Kay's things. Here we have a divorce contract.
Do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
Don't make me be the baby. Don't make me be the baby. Do not make me be the baby in the bath. Me taking a moment to debate whether or not I'm just gonna nope out of this game. This whole game needed a trigger warning, but like any parents in the chat, trigger warning for y'all right now. I'm calling it. This might be tough for y'all. I mean, I'm not, and this is tough for me. So I haven't even experienced it yet. So we're just gonna... All right, we're gonna continue the game. It's what we wanted to do. We wanted to finish this game today. Okay. Being a baby, playing with the frog. Frog in the bathtub.
I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Bath time's over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like. He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was, he saw. It sure made him happy.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Am I doing something wrong? There we go. I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm supposed to be staring at a frog. Okay, I got it. I'm supposed to be staring at a frog. I'm not the baby, I'm staring at a frog. This is incredibly frustrating. I don't want to be here.
I know how silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us.
Why did he have
About
to
the
turn it
world
back
we saw.
on? Why did he have to turn it back on? It was off. We were clear. Turn it back off.
Hey, there's so much I don't understand. About Gregory,
No.
about everything.
Thank you. No, thank you.
But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
That obviously was messed up. It's like, there's something to be said for the way that you know something bad is going to happen from the very first instant, and you still have to be the conductor of it, right? I mean, that's as symbolic as it gets. That's why we play games, is to engage, to be a part of the action. And there's something so horrifying about doing it when you don't want to. It feels manipulative, you know, it's tough, and it doesn't really matter if Sam had called or hadn't called that night, right? Every parent who goes through something like that is gonna blame themselves. They also did the same thing, the same narrative device as they did with Sam's vignette, which is Kay came back and pulled the plug. The water was gone, he was safe. The water was gone, he was safe, right? And so you have this, I mean, I didn't have a sigh of relief, but I thought, okay, maybe this isn't going where I thought it was gonna go. And then it does go exactly there, and it's your fault, gamer, because you had to jump the frog onto the words. And then it fades to white, and you're like, they're not gonna go there. And then they make you be a green underwater baby frog of death. Swimming through the bathtub water. Because this game goes there. And then you have to go from one child to another child. You have to go child to child vignette. And I gotta be honest, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Don't like it.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
What a start. My brother said with teenage disregard, I'll be dead before I see a wedding in our yard. Guess what Gus is? He's dead. That's cool.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, "We don't need a stepmom," were the words that I remembered.
Husband and wife.
So this would be Sam's wedding to the new wife.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind
not very
picked
good
up
at flying
and
kites,
panicked geese
obviously.
appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
Uh-oh. That seems like a storm. Oh, I have landed the kite into the. That, I
Rain
mean,
came
that's what
down
it
in
looks like when I
buckets
fly a
then, but
kite
no one
personally.
seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Wow.
The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
Yeah, into the tent. Figured.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Hence the pinwheel. Yeah. And there's the kite. Has this emergency evacuation plan helped anyone here? House rules. No playing outside without permission. No answering the door for strangers. No messes after dark. All chores before dark. Respect others. Ay. Raise flag. Breakfast. Quiet time. Duties. Sweep trash. Mop. Mow yard. Be a baby. That was Greg's job. Greg's only job was to be a baby. Jump rope, jumping jacks, push-ups, crunches, run to mailbox and back. This was a strict household. Woof! I would not have done well with all that structure. Well, I mean, I didn't have a lot of structure, so maybe I would have done well with structure, but when you go from one end to the other, it sucks. You don't do well when you go from one end to the other. All right, I guess up the rock wall.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Ugh. Oh, Dawn and Sanjay.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
That's cute. "10 ways to teach critical thinking." That's adorable. See, this is really interesting because you have this really tragic story that Dawn is obviously aware of through time, right? Because you have all of these family members dying to this curse and memorials all over the house to all of the lost, and Dawn losing everyone close to her. I mean, at the point when Dawn lost her father, 1983, the only person alive in the house was Edie and Walter. That's it. Everyone else had died. It was just Dawn and Edie. And that's it. Imagine how empty that felt. This giant house with all of these bedrooms, and there's no one left except someone who is ancient, her own grandmother. And Dawn turns to what gives people a lot of hope in the face of so much death, which is faith. And that gives her the strength to become this person who goes to India on a trip to help make the world better, who obviously cares about making the world better, wants to become a teacher, you know? Like, she has this tragic backstory, this tragic life, and she finds a way to push forward to hopefully bring goodness to the world. And she did that through her coping mechanisms that was taught to her by her father. So very, very interesting read on this character, on Dawn's strength. Okay, so here it says call mom and grandma once a week. So it seems like Dawn's mom is still alive. That would be Kay. Would that be Kay? Yes, Gregory's mom was Kay. So Kay would still be alive, but not living in the house. Very interesting character. Okay, so I think we go out this way.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Very misty. Pretty environment. So it seems like we can we go down? These aren't really stairs. Yeah, no. No, we cannot go down. But we'll go up.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Ah, so it seems like, if I understood that correctly, Dawn left the house and was like, I'm out of here. I do not like. Goodbye, I'm escaping. Very reasonable, very understandable. Lived in India for basically a year, had a kid with Sanjay, and then didn't move back until Sanjay died. Moved back with Louis to be with Edie. So Edie was alone in this house with Walter for a little bit. Very sad.
And to see kids in the house again.
Yeah. So they had these little gardening areas for each of the kids. Milton seemed a peculiar sort, didn't he?
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
I'm interested in Milton's story.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
I don't know how anybody could say that. I don't know how anybody could say that after everything, you know? So then it seems like all the kids were homeschooled and were at least taught about their family, even if they weren't taught how they died. Louis rules with a Z. Classic. So it seems like, yeah, Dawn homeschooled them.
But it didn't last.
The scientific method. Aw, what a cute little turn-in station here. Otis Finch. Good old Otis Finch. History. Smarty Pekka by Edith Finch. Good. Good, 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 good. Great job, everybody. Everybody did a great job. Relief efforts end in disaster. Oh boy. Interesting that she would have... Oh, is this how Sanjay went? Oh, yeah. So this little shrine here at Dawn's desk reveals what happened to Sanjay, because we have relief efforts end in disaster. Hundreds of relief volunteers are injured or dead after the effects of a second earthquake. Right above his picture tells me that he died in this earthquake. Very bad luck. Very bad luck. or a curse. You know. Take your pick.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
I don't want to cross the rickety bridge, but it seems like we are crossing the rickety bridge in the wind. Good. Okay. Ah, seems like we're not going through the front door. Is that another sealed off door? Uh-oh, we're gonna have to go all the way around. Ah, the price of exploration. Having to go back and take our time. But let's do the peephole, because we always get a little info here.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Interesting, different music started playing. I'm getting savant from Milton.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Interesting. What? Oh, that's kind of cool. I was like, no way this girl is hauling herself up on a rope. No, it's a lever thing. Science. Okay, more paint. The castle. Extra, extra, historic American newspapers now available about chronicling America. Man Titan is born. Amazing. Murder probe clues exhausted. Good. Great title. Apple turns land into a... Oh, it's a couple. Okay. Early work on rail link. Good. Good. Okay. I'm not ready for the sads. But that's, you know, this whole game has been the sads, so I guess bring it on. The magic paintbrush, huh?
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Oh, it's a flip book. Oh, come back! Oh, don't make me watch the whole thing over again. I didn't want to hold click the whole time. What's happening? Oh, I can make it go faster. Oh, good. Okay. Just slow it down a little bit. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay, we made it go fast. Okay, so the magic paintbrush he got from the painting took him into a magical door, but then what happened to him is the question.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Yeah, that kind of shapes you. Interesting. So, a mystery. We don't get his full story. We just get that he had a magical paintbrush show up from a canvas and he painted himself a door that he walked through. Very mysterious. Almost seems as if it's not from his perspective as a way of telling his story. Because of course nobody can tell the story of how he died because we don't know. Nobody knows.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Okay, so that's when she sealed the doors, is right after Milton disappeared. So that would be 2003. So Dawn, having experienced the loss, or having known the stories of the loss of Molly, Barbara, Calvin, Walter, actually not Walter yet, but knowing that Walter had, something was going on with Walter, the loss of Sam, her dad, then you have the loss of her brothers, Gus and Gregory. All that happens. And Dawn, it's just Dawn and Edie. She loses her husband, Sanjay. It's just Dawn and Edie and her 3 beautiful children. Dawn loses her first child, well, loses Milton, her middle child, and loses her mind. And she's like, that's it. We're done here. We're sealing it all up. We're not just sealing it with a key, we're sealing it with spray foam insulation. I don't know what curse is going on here, but we are done here. I am done here. And seals all the doors. Except Walter's. Because I guess Walter's still kicking. Which is why she didn't seal it. But she's like, I don't want my 2 remaining children to know anything about any of this. Which is interesting.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Oh, because Milton had found something? That's interesting. That's not immediately apparent. So Milton found something. What did he find, I wonder?
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room. Except Louis.
I wonder why. So there's a really big age difference here. You have Edith, who is... There's 11 years age difference there. So that's a really big age difference. You're almost at that point, almost a different generation. And you're going through completely different and separate things.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
So Louis, blaming himself for what happened to Milton, obviously found coping in sort of like no, don't exit the room. Come back. Get back in there. Get back in there. Counterculture is what Louis found comfort in. AKA video games.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
What a noob. But also seems to be a high school graduate, which is fantastic.
He was so proud of being Indian. I think for him, it was a way to be something other than just a Finch.
What a gamer. Obviously using substances to cope. Wow, did everybody have that alarm clock? That one? I feel like everybody did. Okay, it's time for Lewis's story. I'm nervous. Okay, so this is actually a letter to Dawn from Greater Seattle Institute of Psychology in Lewis's room.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Oh, that's not his blood. Oh, thank gosh. Okay.
He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
Oh, there's a person. Oh,
I asked him to
interesting.
describe it.
This is multitasking. I can't do it. Oh, I'm bad at
He
it.
said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
I'm so bad at multitasking. This is really hard. This is like the rub your stomach and pat your head.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
I feel like we don't step on the red door. Oh, it's not a door. Okay.
But he found something more.
He found video games. And they saved him, and everybody was happy and happily ever after. Right? And that was the end. Right? Please?
I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
Quiet. Untroubled.
Like a whole new Lewis.
Untroubling.
So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
The friend was a dog?
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Kind of sounds like he's super dissociating.
And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. but his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering.
Seems like it's happy, but it's
It
not
became
going
a
to be
game
happy.
for him.
I know it's not going to be happy. Seems fine at first, right,
He'd
though?
conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis.
Seems like
He
healthy
started
coping,
drifting
right?
away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
You get to pick the story.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
Definitely rainbows. Obviously rainbows.
radiant rainbows.
Oh, we are bad. They're like, did you want to play a game?
He followed the sound of her
Gamers play games. Silver harp. I guess I like the right path.
silver harp.
Oh, I gotta play the notes too? Oh my gosh.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
I'm so interested to know where this is going. And also terrified.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Okay. Except it's not, but it is, but also it's not. Okay, so we've left the cannery, or we're about to leave the cannery, it seems like. This seems like our locker of things. Takeout and video game handhelds and keys, and are we supposed to be picking any of this up? No.
He began to forget the world we know.
hope this doesn't get violent and
I
gory.
think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
I'm having another one of those I don't want to walk forward moments.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him.
A cat advisor. I know some people here who would love that. Here they are building tension.
His queen waited, holding his crown.
Yep, that's a guillotine.
There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
I think I might need a little bit more time with that one. Because it maybe something about it feels off to me, and I don't know what. I think the implication is that he cut off his own head in the cannery equipment, or mortally injured himself in some way due to one of two things. On the one hand, it's kind of implied that he just went mad and didn't understand in his head what was real and what wasn't, and actually lost track of reality. On the other hand, it's also implied a bit that he just hated his life so much that he just chose to end it because he hated himself that much. He hated the cannery Lewis, the real Lewis. And it's interesting because substance abuse is mentioned quite a bit, but mental illness is not. And I wonder why. I wonder if the devs had something else in mind, but didn't want it to make it too heavy-handed, didn't want it to make it a message. I'm not sure. Because if the fact is that he legit lost sight of reality, even when substance abuse is present, that's extremely unusual for someone to like actually get lost from reality. But it seems like the psychiatrist like wasn't talking about that in this letter. Yeah, I don't know. Something just feels like there's something missing. And I don't know why they made that choice, but I assume it was made on purpose because everything else has had all those like colors and flavors and different textures and messy and sticky, and you can pull everything apart and discuss it. But I feel like with Lewis's story, it's missing something. It's missing that element of having enough to talk about. Like they almost removed some of the colors of it because maybe they felt it would be too triggering, or maybe they felt it would be too heavy-handed, or maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There's something missing there, and I think maybe I have to finish the game and come back to it. But we are filling out the journal much quicker now, so we'll see. And of course, the important thing to note is that a psychiatrist would never talk like this, have conversations like this. This was a narrative device, okay? This was a narrative device, this letter from a psychiatrist to a mother. This would not happen. This would never happen. So don't, please, I warn everybody who's watching right now, please do not base any of your opinions about psychiatry or mental illness or therapy on this representation, because this is not, there's so much missing here, and there's so much incorrect because it's a narrative device. It's not meant to be real. So just a warning there. Yeah, I don't know. There's something missing about this story. It doesn't strike that ping of like, wow, that was real. The person who wrote this knew intricately and deeply someone like this. But if they did, which is entirely possible, I think just something's missing, and they took something out on purpose. Maybe they tried to boil it down to its essence and then boiled a little bit too far, perhaps? I don't know. I don't want to like put words in anybody's mouth or speak ill of something crafted so carefully, but I don't know how to put words to what feels weird for me, you know? I'm not sure.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie.
Oh, we're not going that way, are we?
I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
That's an interesting comment.
I wish we'd stayed.
Be whose room? Packing peanuts? Dawn's room? Dawn's room. Yeah, I'm getting Dawn room vibes.
But I understand why we left.
Although this says Edith Mom on it. This is like a whole living area up here. My goodness. Oh, Oh, it's dark again. I can't see. I wish there were power here. So much packing peanuts.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Pictures of her visiting Perry, or flying over it at least. So it's interesting because Dawn has 2 rooms in this house. Her childhood room and then her adult room. Ah, yes. Can't forget that she and Sanjay worked in disaster relief. Can't forget that. Yeah, he definitely died in that earthquake. Oh, she wrote a book. That's sweet. Look at her trying to be helpful to the world.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time.
This is
Maybe
such
I
a
should have
pretty
come sooner.
lookout. So then here we have Edith's childhood room coming up.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Ah, I'm interested. I'm interested in last night mythology. These look like letters. Are they saying something? It seems like they're just letters. Interesting. Okay. Oh, she's the one who makes the things out of paper. Remember that paper shark we saw in Edie's room? Edith is the one who makes them. Now the question is, did Edith learn it from Edie? Did she learn that skill from her grandmother? Norwegian folk tales and Norsk folkeeventyr. I definitely nailed that. Oh, the science of paper crafting. You have the book right there. So I'm going to say no, she didn't learn it from Edie. She learned it herself, and she made that paper shark for Edie, maybe as she was dying, perhaps? All right, here we go.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are
Edith,
very specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The grown-ups have to argue seems to be exactly accurate, I suppose.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance.
Oh, interesting. Uh-oh. This seems like Edith's about to get into some trouble.
Or that Edie had a key to it.
So the present that Edith Sr. left for Edith Jr. was this library.
The thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best
if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
So this says the houses, Odin, the field of people, the night you were born, Ran or Aegir, Milton, Lewis, the mysteries of death and the afterlife. This is just kind of like a random collection of notes. History of the Finches by Edith Finch. So that was the gift. This is the gift. And this is what Dawn is literally packing up all her stuff and leaving everything behind to avoid Edith Jr. being able to read, learning about.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it.
Interesting.
When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered.
That's gotta be so scary to just get lost in the fog.
I started seeing things.
Oh, this doe imagery is coming back. Or deer, not doe. Remember, she started the game. Edith started the game by saying there were
ever existed.
Hoofprints.
But when I saw them, they felt like old friends.
This is like her old furniture.
That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car and I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot.
It's the
We both
Edith
tried to make the
trademark,
best of it.
fingerless gloves.
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Oh my god. What? What? They're really not gonna spell it out for us, huh? Hmm. I'm having a hard time with that. Having a real hard time with that. We didn't get the end of Edie's story. I mean, we know how she died, but Edie was telling the story about the old house. I thought we were going to get a story about what this whole thing is. The curse or what, or something. Give it some meaning. It doesn't feel like enough for the story to just end on Edith writing, "It's just a strange and brief experience, this life." I kind of need more than that. I already know that life is strange and brief. Yeah, troubling. Troubling ending. I did think it was a weird choice to, like, pulse through the birth canal. Personally thought that was an odd choice. But other than that, very, very interesting story about stories, oddly enough. Hold on. Okay, replay a story option is now available. Select Edith to play from the beginning. So a story about stories, and I can understand the tension between Edie and the mom. And Edie saying, we need to honor our stories. That's the important part, because the stories are going to happen regardless. That's our lot in life. So we need to honor them. The mom saying, no, I disagree. The way that you've been doing things has gotten everyone I love killed. So no, we're going to try something different. Did it work? Did the mom repressing all the stories, moving away with Edith, did it work? Look, everybody dies, right? But Dawn made it a lot longer. She made it to 2016. She lived a pretty full life, right? Whereas everybody else had very untimely early endings, tragic endings, whereas Dawn just got sick and passed away. Meanwhile, Edith dies shortly after returning to the house. So why does mom give her the key? Why does mom give Edith the key on her deathbed? She basically gives Edith the edict to go back to the house. Why? Interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Edie lasted a really long time and went the way she would have wanted to go, right? It's interesting. I'm still parsing it through. I think it's up to interpretation. I think it presents two diametrically opposed ways of navigating the world. But what's interesting is the game doesn't present an idea that one is correct and one is not. You know? But I would be interested to hear what Edie learned from going back to the old house. And we don't know exactly what time that happened. Oh, it was the night Edith was born. So there's something happened about, because that phrase keeps coming up, right? The night you were born. So Edie learned something about the history of the Finches on the night that Edith was born in 1999, while Milton was still around, Lewis was still around, Dawn was still around. I don't remember exactly what year for Sanjay. But, if they were living at the house, then, I don't necessarily know what year Edith would have been born. Unclear. Or where she would have been born. So, on the night that Edith is born, Edie learns something about something that causes her to write the story of the history of the Finches, and she learns it from the old house. And I'm curious what it is, because it's not laid out clearly at all. And they rip that part of the story away. So we never get to know it. And I wonder if that was sort of a device to demonstrate that when we don't share our stories, they are gone forever. And any wisdom you could have learned from them is gone. And so Dawn would say, yes, there is no wisdom to be learned here. This is a curse. We are done with it. Blind. We are just going to take life, the future as it comes. We're not even going to bother with stories from the past because they only bring pain. And they bring self-fulfilling prophecies. Whereas Edie is on the path of, and demonstrates through action, that you have to honor the stories so that you can glean what you can from them, whether it be joy, whether it be pain. Those two things can coexist, but you'll never know if you don't remember, because if they don't exist, they don't exist. So I don't know, maybe that's the only reason the story was written. Maybe there is nothing to know about a curse, except it adds intrigue. Because I don't think the point is whether or not there's a curse. You know? What if the reason that Dawn gave Edith the key to the house was purely because Dawn knew she'd be alone then? Maybe she gave Edith the key to the house because she knew she was going to be leaving Edith completely alone without any family at, 17. Maybe that's what made Dawn turn around and say, you know what? It's been really lonely for the two of us without any family. Maybe we need those stories to connect us to the world, to ground us in who we are. Maybe that's what Dawn learned. I don't know. It's very, very good game. Very, very, very engaging, very, from a narrative standpoint, sure, amazing, given, but also from just a blending of the device of games themselves. Like, what makes a game different from a movie is what they put into this game. You know? Like, I can't get this swinging thing out of my head with Calvin. Like, that hurt. To the point where I know a lot of other people in the chat mentioned that, some of the other ones hurt way more, but Calvin's got me the most. A lot of the other ones, you start, it sounds horrible, but you start to see it coming. At a certain point, you're like, everyone dies a horrible death. In fact, the most horrible death that could possibly ever be imagined for them. The one thing that brings them joy shall be their doom. You know? Very, very, very tough subject matter. But I think it focuses fairly well on... It's interesting. It's not a story about grief. I don't think. Not overtly. Grief is present just like mental illness is present, and just like, all sorts of things are present. Morality is present, but it's not the focus. Grief isn't the focus of this, which is interesting. The focus of it is story, which is so meta because it's a story game and it basically just tells you a story in a game format. But it's about the narratives in our own head in a way that is really cool, because in these little vignettes, the stories are told from different voices almost every time. Like, remember, like Molly at the very beginning telling her experience. She was like, I woke up, I was starving, and then I became a cat. And then I became an owl. And then I became a shark. And then I became a monster. And I ate everything in sight, even toothpaste. And then the monster ate me. And like, that was all laid out in like Molly's voice. You know, Molly's point of view. That was Molly's story. That was Molly's story about how Molly died. You know? We don't actually ever know what happened to her for real. I don't know. We don't know. But that was her way of telling her story about what was going to happen to her. Whereas you had Sam tell Calvin's story and Gregory's story. And so it's about how we internalize events and externalize events. It's about how we process things. But it's not necessarily a story about the grieving process, which is fascinating. It's about like generational legacies of story. Really, really, really interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, and I'm interested to know, you know, it makes you wonder about Edith's child, you know? Like, because now Edith's child has all the same story that Edith does. How does that child go forward? Because Edith, let's say it's presumed, it's implied that Edith dies in childbirth. So the child, who we don't know their names, so we're just gonna call them the child was raised in a different household by a different family and only has a blood connection. So what happens to child? Because now child read the journal, child knows the story, child was at the house. But does child succumb to the same situation as everybody else? Don't know. Nobody knows. It's a mystery. But you also have to wonder, I don't know, like, how much of this is, I don't want to say coincidence, but everybody dies. Everybody dies, you know? So like, just because these people died in these tragic ways doesn't mean they're cursed. Everyone dies eventually. It is a very disaster-prone family, yes, but is the nature of it the tragedy of it? Is the tragedy the nature of it? Or is it just, did we tell it in a tragic way? You know? I don't know though. I don't know. And they all did die in very specific and individual and unique ways. I don't know though. So that's gonna be it for the playthrough. I feel like I talked through so much of it with y'all, but I still feel like there's so much more to talk about. It's just one of those games, you know? It's one of those games, and very exciting to know that there's like more attached story in a different game. Do you want to see me play that? Leave me a comment, let me know. If y'all want to see it and it's short, just like this one, I'll play it. But yeah, so I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Thank you for recommending it for real. And thank you for not stopping recommending it, because what a journey, what an adventure. Truly, truly glad to have taken it and truly glad to have shared it with you all. So please remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with all your friends so they can enjoy it too. You know the routine. And of course, subscribe to Strange Rebel Gaming so you don't miss the next video. That's all. I love you all.